My brothers and sisters, this evening I'd like to talk about something very, very important. And I know many people don't like the subject, but it's something we have to talk about. I received a message from one of my friends who is in his 40s, saying that he lost his father, who was in his 70s, in Ramadan. That's quite a few months ago. And he says, I don't know why I cannot get over the loss of my father. I get up at times, I feel anxious, I cry. I don't know how this will improve. And I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm an orphan even though I'm so old. And I feel like something is missing. And I really miss my father. And it's very difficult for me to continue and to keep going in life. Okay, so you've got the scenario, right? We have someone who's in their 40s. We have a person who passed away in their 70s. They've passed on so many months back. And we have someone who's married with children, who is struggling to cope with that loss. Now, the first thing you and I need to know is, it is human. It is human. It is normal to miss someone. It is natural to feel sad. It's okay to cry. All of that is fine. We are human beings. From amongst us in this hall today, and those who might witness this later, we've lost loved ones. We've cried. Many of us have been there. We've lost our parents. So obviously, one of the most important statements is that it is human. It's okay to cry, to miss someone. These are qualities that are very, very acceptable and very human. But Allah gives us mechanisms to cope with the loss. Allah gives us mechanisms to look into the future with hope. Allah gives us goodness for us to be able to look forward to something that is a silver lining upon that gray cloud that looms. And this is Allah and Allah alone. So every time we suffer a loss, the first thing we're taught to say is Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. I start off from the end of the verses. Allah says, those are the ones who are rightly guided. Who are they? They are the ones whom the blessings and the mercy of Allah descend upon. Who are they? They are the ones who say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And when do they say this? They say it whenever they suffer a loss. Those are the believers. Those are the rightly guided. And I thank Allah for giving us parents who taught this to us, for giving us teachers who taught us that every time there is a loss, what do you say? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Why? Because it reminds you who you are, who the person was, or who the thing was. It's not necessarily the loss of an individual, any loss. So whatever you've lost belongs to Allah. It always belonged to Allah. You and everything else and everyone else will be returning to Allah. And who do you belong to? You don't belong to yourself. You do not belong to yourself. If you don't belong to yourself, can you ever say something belongs to you permanently? No, only temporarily. Your children, who do they belong to? Allah, because you belong to Allah. Your spouse, your parents, everyone belongs to Allah, but temporarily on earth for a system that was divinely designed. Allah wants you to be able to say, my father, my mother, my child. But Allah says, I can take them away at any time. It's part of my system and part of my plan. What is the system of Allah? That people will die, people will go, people will return to Allah. You will go, I will go. I am preparing for the day I meet with Allah by seeking lots of forgiveness and having hope in His mercy and becoming a better person. That's why we are seated here today, to be able to become better people, to be able to improve in our prayer, to be able to improve in our dress code, to be able to improve in our abandoning that which is haram, to be able to improve in the fulfillment of that which is obligatory, to be able to do that which is charitable and voluntary to earn the pleasure of Allah. That's why I'm seated here this evening. None of us are seated here just to pass time. We want to learn something. We want to go back becoming better people and more conscious of Allah who made us. That's why we're here. That's why I am here all the way from Africa, to let you know that Allah has a plan. And Allah loves you. And if you've lost something, for as long as you have not lost your connection with Allah, you have actually gained. If something has brought you closer to Allah that looked like a loss, it was not a loss. If you lost your father and as a result you started dressing more appropriately, what was that? Your father was always going to go. May Allah grant him Jannah. But guess what? His going was a blessing for you, because now you're preparing to go as well. La ilaha illallah. Blessing. Some people, it takes the death of an individual for them to get a jolt to turn to Allah. Some people don't need that jolt. They already turn to Allah because they see something or the other. Some are more fortunate. They've had a good upbringing. Some have had good friends that brought them towards Allah. I know people who went to the universities, for example, and they've become better people. And the opposite is also true. You need to understand, if Allah has favored you to connect with Him more and more each day, wallahi, you are blessed.